Morning, Maeve. How are you this fine, sunny, freezing cold day?
Morning, Peter. Yeah, it's great. Nice to see the wintry weather in.
Oh, absolutely. It's beginning to feel and look a lot like Christmas, I guess, as the song goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maeve, welcome to the Business Spotlight. It's great to see you this morning. So could you tell me a little about yourself and your business, please?
Yeah, so I am a marketing consultant and I'm also the managing director of Mitso. We're a creative agency just based outside Newry, and we basically specialize in digital and brand. So anything, we sort of take clients right through from inception through to activation. That could be sort of helping them to develop brand identities and all of their assets and channels, right through to activating campaigns and sort of getting their brands out there as such, and generating revenue for the business. So I'm also a part-time lecturer in Dundalk Institute of Technology and an Intertrade Ireland consultant as well.
You're a busy lady.
I am.
And so how long have you been doing this for? How's your career progressed to this point, Maeve?
Yeah, I suppose my career hasn't been the most linear of careers. I started out doing a degree in communication, advertising, and marketing in the University of Ulster. When I left that, actually as part of that, I did a placement year in PML, which is an outdoor advertising firm in Belfast. And as part of that, I was connected to a number of agencies that we'd work with, media agencies. So when I left university, I was very lucky to be offered a position in Ad House. And as luck would have it, I had only got the phone call. A couple of days later, I got another phone call to join Riverdance as a professional dancer. So I actually traveled the world for about 4 years with the show. And then met my now husband, moved to Liverpool and worked in the corporate world for a couple of years and didn't really like it. I think when I had sort of experience of doing something I absolutely adored and being able to make money out of it, I realised that there was more to life than sitting in an office and to maybe be a wee bit more flexible and dynamic with my career. So I went solo as a consultant then July 2016 and sort of built the business organically from there. So we now have a team of 5 and we've never looked back. So
Brilliant. And you threw me with Riverdance there. Fantastic. So how when I was born in the Eurovision Song Contest, I remember that. So how long, and then it became a global phenomenon. Where did you fit in? How long after the Eurovision was your chunk of time?
Yeah, so I joined, God, you're going to quiz me now. I joined just after uni, which was 2009, 2010. And as I say, I was in it then just for a couple of years. So it was quite a while after the original sort of Eurovision Song Contest, quite a number of years. But when I joined, it's still as popular as ever. Like, I mean, they've just had their 25th anniversary there. So it's phenomenal. And even when we were in China, like the audiences and everything, you're dancing to thousands of people. One of the things though that, whenever I used to come back after, you're sitting on your couch and you're everybody's working around you, nobody's there, and all of a sudden you've silence in your house. So I find that actually quite jarring. When I used to come back after, it was like all of a sudden, what's going on here? Nobody's screaming at me or praising me. It's right back smack to reality. So I always had a notion that it was never going to be my forever career as well. And I always kind of kept sight of that I knew that it would only be for a couple of years. So
it's a brilliant story. And so even thinking about it, I can feel the hairs on my neck standing up. It's so powerful, really cool.
It's fabulous. It really was.
Whenever you were growing up, Maeve, what did you want to be when you were growing up?
Yeah, so I always had an entrepreneurial streak. I think when I was in primary school, I even made crocheted wee bracelets for children in need and ran a disco when I was in P7. And my dad ran his own kitchen business, so I always had that entrepreneurial streak. I kind of didn't really know. I knew that I would end up, in some form of creative role or media role. And in this industry, I just absolutely loved it. And I love the fact that it is the perfect marriage between creative, the creative aspect of it and business. So I always had that sort of in mind that I would do that. And I suppose working in the corporate world and working, as I say, as a dancer, it kind of made me realize that there was a world outside of, as I say, just that corporate sort of stringent world that it didn't really lend itself well to me. And it's absolutely loads of other people, but just not necessarily me. So yeah, I think when I worked as a loan consultant, as I say, for a couple of years, I realized I absolutely love this, and I didn't really know at the time whether I would grow it to be an agency or just stay on my own for that period of time. And it just naturally grew organically as we sort of did better and better over the years.
Who would be your ideal customer?
Yeah, so we talked about this actually in the office earlier. So we generally work across professional services, retail and tourism. But we work with such a vast range of industries and clients that it's never really one set sort of industry that we work in, because obviously everybody needs marketing and digital. But I think the one thing that we all agreed was that we love clients who are open. So we tend to do like an audit when we first work with somebody, and we'll just uncover absolutely everything, so warts and all. And it's the people who really embrace that and really look at the detail of it and say, right, how can we change and how can we move forward? Like I think of the likes of Colin Glenn that we've been working with for a number of years, and who started with absolutely no website, very little brand awareness, but they've fully embraced digital. They fully embraced us and what we were sort of advising them to do. So it's that real collaboration and that openness and willingness to, dedicate appropriate resource to it and see marketing as a core function of their business. And that, to me, is who our ideal customer is, and that's who we love to work with.
And Maeve, of all the working practice changes that were part of the pandemic, are there any that have remained as part of working in Mitso?
Yeah, so we just naturally, I suppose, in our industry, we were able to sort of work from home, but we never really did it officially. I think sometimes if the girls have something that they really need to work quite, they need space and time to work on it, then absolutely I would always have said, work from home, that's absolutely fine. But I think the pandemic really established that and set that in stone, where we said, look, you can officially do that. Like our designer, for example, Gemma, lives in Randallstown and she only is here one day a week. And that's absolutely fine, because her work is so, design heavy and intense sometimes. And the other girls as well, they work from home at least one day a week, or if there's something in particular, they say, look, I need just space. That's absolutely fine. Turn off your emails, do whatever you need to do. So it is that flexibility that, as I say, I always would have considered myself a flexible sort of boss, but it has established that. I think secondly, our working processes. So we use Microsoft Teams quite a lot for managing all of our projects and internal communications and procedures. So we've got a lot better with making the business more efficient as a result. And then also, I think, being led by digital. And what I mean by that is that almost everything we do now has a sort of foresight of, but how would that work online? Because I think everybody realizes now that, there's such huge potential to be had, by moving your business online, or by having some, at least, element of your business online to generate revenue. So we have that sort of ethos in the business that we sort of lead everything by digital and think about everything. And how would that work online? How would that appear online? So that's something that we changed as a result of the pandemic as well, because, I think everybody has to have a digital element to their business now.
And what would you say has been your biggest learning since being a business owner?
Well, a couple of things. I think emotional intelligence. So I think, having the intelligence to read the room and having the intelligence to understand how to deal with different personalities and people from different backgrounds. I had a market research trip. Luckily, we got some funding from Invest and I to grow our export business in Bermuda. So we went there earlier in the year, and I was dealing with, I met a really sort of highfalutin, guy who runs a multi-million-pound or dollar business or whatever. And one of the pieces of feedback that he gave me was, you didn't ask me about my kids. And that really resonated with me, because I was treating him as this, like, not God, but, like he had done so well and everything. And you tend to do that with people who are really important, and you change your tone, when in actual fact, they're just humans. And they want to be treated like that. And I think that has done us a lot of favors in businesses, that like you just treat everybody the same. I also think, so building those relationships with people is extremely important. And that, as I say, is really important internally in your business as well, is to make sure that your team are happy and feel fulfilled in their jobs. And that's been amazing. And the final thing I suppose I'd like to touch on there is the difference between running the business, like working in the business, and working on the business. They're two very, very different things. And my accountant shouts at me a lot about this, is that, you know, you need to take time out and not feel guilty about taking that time out that you're not available to your team. And what I've done, I suppose, this year, I suppose maybe since the pandemic, is take the time out to look at the efficiencies of the business and to look at our financial situation in terms of like how are we billing out and managing all that aspects of it. Like you could literally spend 5 days a week running the business and trying to get new business in and everything like that, and working on, you know, strategies to help grow it and improve it all of the time. So that's been a real learning curve for me in the past year or two, I'd say. So,
and Maeve, who would be the first person that springs to mind when you think of the word success?
Yeah, this is a really good question. Actually, it really made me think. But I suppose anybody who has, I often think of the word like an entrepreneur. Like, would I consider myself an entrepreneur? And I'm not sure, because I've created something. I've created a business out of nothing. But I love to see people who've created like products and services out of nothing, and have really like stood the test of time and really went through a lot to help create something special out of literally nothing. And I think of my friend, Schaefer Carty, who's created a business, Jump the Hedges, who just had seen a wee post that she'd done last night. And it really made me think, like, she's literally created a business out of lorry tarpaulin, a sustainable business, and it's grown totally organically. And I also think of the likes of Neighbourhood Cafe in Belfast, who have created a wonderful business, but also a community. And they had a fire obviously in their building there recently, and within a matter of weeks they had another premises and created the business again, essentially out of nothing. But I think we have to be mindful as well, in addition to that, or separate to that, in personal life. And I think as a mum, you know, the obstacles that everybody has to overcome at the moment, cost of living crisis, and people who are literally waking up in the morning and wondering how they're going to, you know, feed their kids and things, you know, and heat their homes at the moment. And that, to me, it might sound a bit odd, but that to me is success, is that if you can literally get up and overcome those obstacles on a daily basis. And we have to be mindful of that. And I'm extremely lucky that I can get up and have a business to go to, and, you know, a lovely family. But not everybody is as lucky as that. So that to me is also success.
What would you say is the biggest challenge that you're currently facing in your business?
Juggling, literally. So juggling family life with the business. So my daughter, as I mentioned, is 11 weeks old today, and I'm sitting here and I have full of mom guilt, as they call it. But I have no choice. Like, you know, they encourage women to go into business and have these wonderful businesses, but there really isn't much benefit. I still have to pay myself maternity pay as such. And I'm not feeling sorry for myself, but I do think that juggling a business and home life can be very, very challenging. But I'm lucky that I absolutely love what I do. So I never really consider it as work, even though it is, of course. But I think that definitely is an obstacle. And I think I'm really, really lucky to have a wonderful team around me. I have a fabulous couple of women who work alongside me in the business and have quite literally ran the business while I've been off. So yeah, that to me is the biggest obstacle I think that I face.
What inspires you the most? What gives you inspiration today?
Yeah, so I know this sounds a bit corny, but my kids, they inspire me every day to get up and work hard and to create something special and to make them proud, I suppose. Now they're too young to realise at the minute, but when they get older, they will hopefully and be proud of me. But I think secondly, it's sort of the businesses who have embraced digital and have taken that leap, as I say, over the last few years, and have really, like, we have to remember that, you know, there's a lot of businesses there who might have been extremely successful, but wouldn't have had any element of digital, some of them, in their businesses. So I think, for example, one of our clients at the moment who we worked with, who had an extremely successful business, but as I say, didn't really focus on the online aspect of their business, and they really, you know, shifted their business online. So I think they're really inspiring, the businesses who do that. And then also anybody who has exported, anybody who's grown their business further afield and who has that foresight. So we obviously have our own export strategy and have clients from Bermuda, as I mentioned. But there are local businesses here that I think of, like Deli Lights, for example, who have again grown and created something from literally nothing and now export all over the world. And we're really lucky actually where we live that the likes of Invest and I will support you and believe in your business and help you to grow it. But they're the people that inspire me as well, is that they, you might be sitting here in the middle of South Armagh, but we're working with businesses in Bermuda, and that to me is fascinating, that you have, you think outside the box and you don't think just locally all of the time, and that you have the potential to grow and export all over the world.
And if it were possible, Maeve, and you could go and give advice to your 18-year-old self, what would you say?
The one word I would use is belief. So, not that I was shy. I don't think anybody would consider me shy, but I think just doubting my own ability and imposter syndrome. I don't know whether it's as a result of having kids or what it is, but over the past few years, I have completely shifted that and moved that aside. I don't have time for that anymore. As in, if you don't believe in yourself, then, it's an obstacle that you really don't want to be facing every single day of your life. And I think it's hugely important that you have that internal belief that, you can do anything you put your mind to. You do have a fabulous business here that you've grown, as I say, from nothing. And you have created a team and a culture that you can be proud of, and that you can literally deal with any size or type of client, and we could take on any size or type of project now, and with absolutely no fear that we're going to disappoint or have any type of failure. So I think that's hugely important, but also I would say not to put so much pressure on myself. Every single sort of year or milestone, like my 18th birthday, my 20th birthday, my 21st, or my 30th birthday, I should be here. And I think you realize over time that don't put pressure on yourself, just enjoy every moment and enjoy the journey. And that's definitely a piece of advice I give to my younger self.
Brilliant. Really good advice. So Maeve, if somebody wanted to reach out to you or the team at Mitso Marketing, what would be the best way to go about that?
Yeah, get in touch. Even just for an initial chat. Sometimes we have people contacting us and we have brilliant discussions and conversations with people, and then it turns into work, and it's fabulous. So we would always have an open door policy, even just for a bit of advice or support for a longer term project. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Maeve Finnegan, or Mitso, and our website, obviously, mitsomarketing.com.
Fantastic. Well, Maeve Finnegan of Mitso Marketing, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you very much for sharing your journey and your story. I wish you a fantastic Christmas for you and your family, and all the best of success for 2023. Thank you very much indeed.